Well, it's wonderful to be back here. I'm at home again in St. Patrick's after some time spent on vacation with my family. I feel there was always something missing, but now I feel like it's back. So I'm glad to be with you again today. You know, every September, I get a chance to invite my students to take some time to think about who they are and what factors help to form their identities as unique and important people. What makes them special? What makes them an important part of the community? And of course, I think our scriptures today, they invite you and me to do the exact same thing. To think about how we identify as a person. Now, how people identify, psychologists tell us, can really shape their life's experiences. It's a very intimate and important part of who we are. Throughout all of our lives, no matter how old or how young we might be, even if our identity changes over time, it is a part of the core of who we are. And of course, it shapes the way we interact with our friends, our family, our colleagues, even strangers are impacted by how we see who we are. Now, of course, psychologists also tell us that accepting people for how they see themselves is important. That being loved for who you are in this world is so important to that individual person's physical health, their spiritual health, and even their mental health. That when we react to people's identity, we are called to always love and accept them for who they are. Because after all, God accepts you and me in the exact same way. Now, there are all sorts of different ways that you and I identify, different factors that form our identity, aren't there? You know, right about now, I see a lot of Patriots jerseys out there. People are getting ready for the season. When it turns colder, we might be a Bruins fan. And of course, though I dare say it, now we might be Red Sox fans. How we see ourselves, what we do on a daily basis, that shapes our identity, doesn't it? You may have had an experience where someone might have said to you, what do you do for work? And of course, a response might be something simple like, I'm a mechanic. I'm a bus driver for the school, for the community. I'm a teacher. I'm a priest. I work in the mental health services. Very important that is. And of course, the job that never, ever gives up, I'm retired. Some of you may know that job. You know, sometimes when we're very young, whether we're a high school student or a college student, we identify as being part of the football team or the lacrosse team, or we identify with being part of a club in our school, the Black Student Union or the Environmental Club or the GSA, all these different wonderful groups that people gather to, right? And it helps to form them, and it helps them to understand who they are as people. Even in our family relationships and the relationships that we have with others. I'm a mother, I'm a father, I'm a sister or a brother, I'm a daughter or a son, I'm a boyfriend or a girlfriend. These are important parts of who we are. And they're important to God as well. But I would suggest, I'd like to offer for you to think about this in light of our scriptures, that maybe the most important factor that helps to shape us as individuals is our relationship and our identity in light of Jesus Christ. That perhaps our most important identity comes to us in life by having a relationship and seeing our life in light of the Christian message. We see that actually in the Gospel of Luke, don't we? The disciples have been following Jesus, And they want to discover who they are in light of his message. They want to know, how is it going to change their life? What does it mean to be a Christian, a disciple of Christ? And of course, Jesus, he takes this wonderful opportunity to teach them something about being a disciple. Now, I don't know about you, but when I first heard our scriptures today, I would have to admit that it was a bit disturbing. Jesus says this in Luke's gospel: "If anyone comes to me without hating his father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not carry his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple." I have to admit, it disturbed me to hear Jesus use the word hate. And of course, people tell us that there's translation issues, and I understand. But of course, that's the word that we heard, isn't it? So we have to try to make sense of this. And it brings up a really important question for us to think about. Does God really want you and me to hate our mothers and fathers, our wives and husbands and children? Does he really ask us to hate those very important relationships that we have molded, that he has given to us in this life as a reflection of him? The answer is no. God does not ask us to hate. And of course, our scriptures tell that to us, don't they? After all, in the 10 Commandments, we are called to honor our mother and father. In the book of Proverbs, it is said that a husband or a wife is more precious than all the treasures of the earth. And our children are likened to guests at a great wedding feast, honored guests. So then, what is Jesus trying to tell us in this passage? How are we to make sense of it in light of that understanding that God doesn't really want us to hate what he has given to us in love? During Jesus' lifetime, much like our own today, a person's identity was shaped by who their family was, who their mother and father were, who their brothers and sisters were, maybe even who their grandparents were. And much like today, their identity was also shaped by what they did. A carpenter, a fisherman, a priest, a soldier. Kinship, an occupation, where you lived. All of those things shaped who you were in Jesus' time and today. But I'd like to offer you this interpretation of our scriptures, that Jesus' invitation for us is not to hate our relationships, hate the relationships we have with our loved ones, but rather to understand those relationships in light of being Christian people. In other words, what does it mean to be a Christian father or a Christian husband or wife or son or daughter? What does it mean to be a Christian school teacher and a Christian mechanic? How does being a disciple of Jesus Christ shape and mold the way we see ourselves and the way we are called to see others? That's an exciting invitation, an amazing invitation that God gives not only to his disciples then, but to us today. Who are we in light of being disciples of Jesus Christ? And I like to think this, that when we see ourselves in light of the Christian message, that nothing is taken away from those relationships, but rather, when we take those very important relationships and we place them in the loving hands of Christ, that they are amplified. We learn to love better, accept people better, do our jobs, do the things that God has called us to, all the better. Because in the hands of God, whatever we give to him, he always gives back more. And that's an amazing gift. So our scriptures are simple this week. It's simply an invitation for all of us as we enter this September to think about, what does it mean to be a Christian parent or a Christian daughter or son or husband or wife? And how does knowing that part of our identity help us to truly live the message of Christ in this world?